All right, welcome back everyone to the deep dive. We're ready to dig into some fascinating stuff today about LLCs and asset protection,
Definitely a popular topic these days.
especially with all the craziness going on in the world,
Hmm.
you know. People are understandably looking for ways to protect what they've worked hard for. And speaking of protecting your assets, we're going to be focusing on New Jersey specifically today. We've got some interesting source material that delves into how LLCs work in the Garden State.
Right, and how to leverage them for asset protection.
Exactly. But before we get too deep into the weeds, I just want to remind everyone that this is for informational purposes only. We're not lawyers or financial advisors, so please consult with a professional before making any decisions based on what we discuss.
Couldn't agree more. Always a good idea to get personalized advice. So, let's set the stage here a bit.
Okay, sounds good. What should we cover first?
Maybe we could start by explaining what an LLC actually is. For those who might not be totally familiar with the concept.
Yeah, you know what? That's a great point. The source material we're looking at kind of assumes everyone knows what an LLC is, but maybe we should break it down a bit.
Right, right. So an LLC, which stands for Limited Liability Company, is basically a business structure that separates you personally from your business legally.
So like a wall between your personal stuff and your business stuff.
Exactly. It's like a protective barrier. That way, if something happens with your business, like let's say a lawsuit or you end up in debt, your personal assets are protected.
Oh, so things like your house, your car, your savings.
All that stuff is shielded from being seized. It stays yours.
Makes sense. So that's the how of an LLC, but what about the why? The source material also talks a lot about the reasons people would want to form an LLC in the first place, and they specifically focus on New Jersey.
Right. They seem to be saying that New Jersey's legal environment is particularly well suited for asset protection using LLCs. They don't go into a ton of detail about
Oh, not at
specific
all.
laws, but
But it sounds like they're implying that there might be some unique advantages in New Jersey.
that's what it seems like. But yeah, it definitely emphasizes the importance of understanding your state's laws when considering an LLC, because those laws can differ from state to state.
For sure.
Uh,
Every state has its own quirks. Now, there's one more thing I wanted to touch on that the source material mentions. They talk about this company called Inc. Authority that helps people form LLCs.
Ah, yes, Inc. Authority.
And they actually emphasize their free LLC formation option for New Jersey.
Hmm.
Got me thinking about the whole psychology of free offers.
It's powerful. Free always catches the eye.
It does. And sometimes there are hidden costs or limitations when something is advertised as free.
Exactly. That's why it's super important to look beyond the surface and really understand what you're getting, what's included, and what might not be.
Yeah, do your research.
Hmm.
Figure out if there are any additional services you might need that would cost extra.
Right. Don't just jump at something because it's free. Make sure it's actually the right fit for your specific needs.
Absolutely. It's like that old saying, if you're not paying for the product, you are the product.
True that. But yeah, in this case, it's more about being a savvy consumer and knowing what you're signing up for.
For sure. Now, one thing I noticed is that the source material is very optimistic about LLCs, almost presenting them as a guaranteed way to protect assets.
Yeah. It's important to remember that while LLCs offer a good level of protection, they're not a foolproof solution.
Oh, so it's not like an impenetrable shield.
Right. There are situations where the corporate veil, as it's called, of an LLC can be pierced, meaning personal assets could become exposed.
Wow, okay. I didn't realize that. So what kind of situations could lead to that?
Well, it can get complicated, but some examples might include things like fraud, or if you don't maintain a clear separation between your personal and business finances.
Oh, so like mixing your personal bank accounts with your business accounts.
Yeah, that could be a red flag. But overall, it's just crucial to understand that an LLC isn't a magic bullet. It's more like, what's a good analogy?
Like a really strong fence with a secure lock.
Yeah, that's good. It offers a high level of protection, but there are ways around it if someone is really determined.
I see, I see. So what you're saying is that forming an LLC is a great step, but it's not the only step.
Right. And that's why it's so important to work with professionals like attorneys and accountants. They can help you set things up correctly and make sure you're following all the rules.
To maximize your protection.
Exactly. Because at the end of the day, you want peace of mind knowing you've done everything you can to safeguard your assets.
Absolutely. So after diving into all this information about LLCs and asset protection, especially in New Jersey, what would you say is the most important thing for our listeners to remember?
That's a great question. I'd say it's this. Forming an LLC can be a fantastic tool for protecting your hard-earned assets, but it's not a decision to be taken lightly.
Right, not a snap decision.
Definitely not. Do your homework, consult with professionals, and make sure you understand all the ins and outs before diving in.
Couldn't agree more. And for our listeners out there, we've only scratched the surface today. There's a whole world of information out there about LLCs and asset protection. Keep researching, keep exploring, and most importantly, keep asking questions. Because ultimately, the best decisions are the informed ones.
Well said. Knowledge is power, especially when it comes to protecting what matters most to you.
Exactly. And on that note, I'll leave everyone with this thought. We talked about how New Jersey's legal environment might have some unique aspects to consider when it comes to asset protection. So as you continue your research, think about how those aspects might influence your own decisions about forming an LLC. Maybe even chat with a local lawyer to get their take.
That's a great idea. Local expertise can be super valuable.
It can. Well, that wraps up our deep dive for today. Thanks for joining us.
Until next time.